We're going to go through the deck, and I'm just going to go down the list of the cards, and then we're going to hop into a game and just
Yeah.
super casual. Hopefully,
Are
just
we
get to.
live?
Yeah, it looks like we're live now.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special preview of the deck I played in weeks 1 and 2 here. So, here, just ignore my deck names here. We'll go down to my priest deck here, which basically how it turned out, I decided that priest needed to have a 4 mana 7/7 for it to be competitive now. So, when you are dealt a very bad class to try to make competitive, you have to find creative ways to make your 4 mana 7/7s. So, I landed on Eerie Statue, which in my heart is an all-star from League of Explorers. But basically, this deck has a very loose outline shell of a Shadow Priest. It's got the Circle of Healings with the Aucanize, of course, and it runs just one copy of Forbidden Shaping. And then here's the real winner of the deck here. The real name of the deck is Silence Priest. Here, I'll just fix that. It's a Silence deck. So there's a lot of cards in this deck that you want to have their abilities removed. So Silence is your go-to card to make that happen. Other than the silence cards and the really bad cards that you need to silence, you have just like your standard priest cards like Northshire Cleric and Powerword Shield. And then your not so common priest cards like Ancient Watcher, who goes pretty well with your Eerie Statue. But you will notice that there's only 2 silences in the deck, as the game only permits 2 of each. So you're going to have to find even more creative ways to make these cards not the worst ever. So we have to make cards like Sunfury Protector, taunt them up, and stop all of that pesky aggro that's running around right now. Some more standard priest stuff like Wild Pyromancer and Injured Blade Master, Shadow Word Death, Soul Priest, and then Defender is another activator for all your really terrible cards that can't attack or do anything, like Eerie Statue. So Defender Vargas is pretty awesome, and then just one copy of the Cabal Shadow Priest, and then some of the more interesting things here towards the high end of the mana curve here, like Herald is pretty cool. I've had some pretty awesome interactions with Herald, and Ragnaros is just a lot of fun.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Herald, the minions that he makes, can also be silenced to get their full stats again, right?
Correct. I've been unlucky in that pursuit so far in this tournament, so I'm like 99% sure that's how that works. If it doesn't work, Herald's probably getting cut from the deck. Moving on, Hogger is pretty awesome. I've been like toying around with the idea that this card is actually good. I think it's pretty solid. If it was 6 mana, this card would be absolutely off the wall insane, but like 7 mana is pretty cool too. And then obviously Ragnaros is pretty awesome in any type of deck. I like it a lot in this deck. And then Ice Howl is a very interesting card. For the most part, it's pretty bad. Being able to play this card on turn 9 against a board full of minions seems like it's not great. But being able to silence this guy and just going face with that 10 damage after the turn you played him when they're not expecting it, and a lot of people disrespect a creature that can attack the face, especially at a 10/10, if they think that it's going to have to attack minions until the board is clear, and you can play this, attack a minion, they ignore it the next turn, and then you silence it and go face, you can steal wins right out from under people, and it's a really good feeling to win with Ice Howl. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire deck there. I've had pretty good luck with this deck in the tournament. I would 100% not endorse this deck in playing ranked right now. However, does a pretty decent job of sealing away wins from the more aggressive decks just because of the sheer amount of taunt you're throwing up. If they don't have the answers for it, then
What would you say are your deck's worst matchups?
um, it's a good question. I think that any I think any mage deck is pretty brutal. I think that freeze mage is like really really good because there's not a whole lot of turns. I mean, the curve in this deck is actually like pretty good because all the cards are so low cost because they're all terrible. So you're at the point where you're able to play stuff each turn. You're not gaining life yourself ever. You're basically playing stuff every turn and you're drawing cards with your clerics and all sorts of things. So yeah, definitely freeze mage is a really tough matchup. Um, any decks though that try to pressure you with just minions right away, they get stuck behind taunts and kind of left in the dust. So we're gonna take this into a quick game here, just to hopefully show off what the deck does. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we're just gonna play a quick game here, just for fun to try to see what the deck's doing.
Yep. We will also switch over the stream real quick. I think that I'll wait for Philip to get that adjusted. You'll have to stop spectating Kevin's and start mine for the small screen. All right.
All right, should be good to go. If you want to go
So
ahead and say what deck you're just going to be running just for
yeah.
this demonstration here.
So I'm just going to demonstrate. We're going to play a simple Zoolock deck against this and just kind of show how it does against one of its better matchups and one of the more common decks that's on the ladder. Or at least, Zoo is always the deck that if your deck can't beat, you probably just shouldn't be playing it.
Yeah,
So this and then some of the other Shaman decks, but I feel like this will have the most interactive, enjoyable gameplay. We can kind of like talk through our turns and what we are doing.
I'm just kind of waiting for the stream to catch up here. I think we're getting there.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, the mulligans in this deck are really, really, really weird. There are times when you're going to want to keep a hand that's like Ancient Watcher, which is a 2-mana 4/5 that can't attack, but you have a Sun Fury Protector and a Silence in your hand, and it's really difficult to try to evaluate these cards because if you are stuck with an Ancient Watcher and no silence and no way of making it active, it's just a dead, terrible card as the game intended it to be in the first place. So
Yeah. Philip, my screen is a little off. Okay, you got it moving. I think, maybe. Okay. Okay, he'll be trying to fix it. So just this is a pretty typical Zoo opener. One drop into turn 2 Dark Peddler. Looking at a few choices, I'll just take the most broken card out of them.
I mean, knowing at your point, if you were playing this in a just a regular game on ladder, attacking into that 4/5 is just like the worst feeling in the world. So this is kind of sort of the situations where this deck actually kind of gives you too many options, because right now I'm sitting with two decent, not great options, but I'm going to go ahead and throw the taunt up on this guy, because now your next turn is looking like you're going to have to either 2-for-1 yourself or maybe burn a card you're not necessarily happy about burning at this stage of the game.
Unfortunately for you, my turn can be a little better than that.
Sure.
So I'm just going to play my Councilman and then coin out an Abusive Surgeon on my 3/2 so that I can trade into this cleanly. And then I'll go face with my 2/2. So the things that I'm worried about right now are Actually, this is probably mostly okay. Most likely, what I'm expecting to happen is that the Sun Fury Protector is going to trade with my or hit my Dark Peddler, and then Kevin's going to use his heal on his Protector. But we'll see. It could go differently, where somehow my Councilman dies, and that would be sad. Oh, sure. Circle. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the thing about this deck that actually makes it. I mean, I by no means am saying that this deck is any on any tier list anywhere. However, it does have the thing that's going for it, which is the Shadow Priest shell going on, which is always pretty nice. So I'm in a pretty tough situation here. I don't like that Imp Gang boss.
What are you talking about? He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, about that. So this feels pretty bad here. It's kind of the situation that I put myself in. I will say that I have yet to play the card Silence in any games in the Super League so far, and it is the title card of the deck. So,
All right. So unfortunately, with what I had, I couldn't really be playing around any AoE. So I'm just kind of go face, and we'll see what happens.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is not a great feeling here. But it's going to be the turn I have to make there. I don't like burning a Silence, but you're going to have to deal with the board that's given to you.
Oh man, this hand feels pretty bad. Guess I'm just gonna go with this and hope for a lucky flip. I guess all these cards are good, so discarding any of them doesn't feel too bad.
Boy. Okay. Um. Every now and then, you will actually ignore the effect the card says. And this is the one time.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm never gonna be getting a minion. So right now I'm gonna be playing my second Forbidden Ritual. I'm pretty confident that he doesn't have another clear in his hand, or at least if he does, it has to be the one card he just drew or the next one he draws. Because he used a pretty unappealing clear on his previous round.
You gotta put the pressure on. Unfortunately, this is where the deck has issues. If you're not drawing your clerics and some of your more impactful cards here, you're kind of stuck just hitting with the 7/7. That's going to be dealt with pretty quickly here. So now we are pretty much banking on Akanai Circle to make this game relevant again.
Pyromancer's pretty strong here.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not great either. Boy. So, yeah. This is, sure.
Alright. Alright, so now that that's his second Pyromancer, I'm not actually worried about another AoE. So in case that there's a Northshire, I'm gonna end up trading my Tentacle with a 3/1 rather than anything else. But start off my turn with a tap. I'm not really worried about any burst damage from Priest, which now that he's burned both silences, I can be even more confident about that.
Yeah. Ice Howl is what I don't want to see now. Cards that I do want to see, though, would be like Hogger or Ragnaros is getting worse and worse, but it's still there. I tend to be actually on the luckier side with Ragnaros here, so.
Which will be a reason why I stopped tapping at this point. I will be playing around a rag of some sort. So let's see. Yeah, okay, this is fine.
The light protects me.
In hindsight now, that last Circle of Healing probably should have been saved for the second Akanai Soul Priest there, but once again, you're kind of dealt with what you got.
Yeah, sometimes the Zoo deck just kind of has it all.
Is someone injured? Shields up!
But yeah, that's a pretty crash course on what the deck looks like. To be fair, my draw was pretty great for the most part. If I would have to change anything with the deck, I think that the Herald's pretty cool. It's a good gimmick thing, but I kind of want like a Holy Nova or something like that just for the Zoo decks or anything that's putting a lot of shit out early. So yeah, if you have the cards for this deck, it's a lot of fun to play, actually, so gonna have to give it a try if you want to. It's a lot of fun. It's just part of the plan to make Priest great again, is all it is.
Are you gonna find the Unicorn Priest?
This is it. But yeah, that's just a quick deck tech with the deck that I've been having a lot of fun with. There's a couple other Priest decks that I tried out first, like Confused Priest, which is pretty bad. We did a little bit of Priest deck brewing last week. That was not great, but I have a lot of hope for this new adventure, and maybe Priest will be back on the top, you know. But I think with that, it's going to do it for